Borderlands is one of those games that I love because it's over the top. It's like comic book superhero, supervillain heaven. And it's just this otherworldly, literally, story that is just fantastic to be in, except for when it's not, because sometimes it's just boring. So Borderlands is a 10-year-old franchise. It's capitalized on adolescent humor, sarcasm, a little mysticism, and a ton of bullets. And the universe is still the same Pandora's box of bad and ugly, driven to be worse by corporations and capitalism. I mean, it's left millions of people to do nothing but be a bandit and destroy everything. And there's some cultured individuals, but even their refinement's really pretty cringy and their humor's absolutely terrible, which makes it all that better. What really drives the story, though, are the siren sagas, and these sirens are supposed to be incredibly powerful and can manipulate all this different stuff, but yeah, they still require vault hunters to go do all the heavy lifting. Okay, plot hole, loop hole, something. Anyway, so what's Borderlands? It's about this other universe where people have gone and colonized the stars and corporations wanted to expand their reach. So they had this corporations war, and then they just kind of pulled support from everywhere and left all these people to basically shoot each other and destroy things. But oh, lo and behold, there used to be aliens and they left powerful artifacts and they locked monsters away in these huge vaults. And now there's people trying to unlock the vaults, kill the monsters, and get all this special loot, except nobody really knows what's in the vaults, really. So that's another thing anyway. Let's talk about the gameplay in Borderlands. And the gameplay is a shooter-looter mixed with stat trees from an RPG. And it kind of works, but it's not really awesome. It's not overly complicated. They're not going to make this formula too hard. In fact, Borderlands doesn't really take any risk in Borderlands 3. They go back to their tried and true formula, which is shoot things a lot with a lot of different guns. Okay, that's cool until you realize that this game suffers from two main things. One is it's kind of boring to shoot things over and over and over and over again without any real mechanics from the RPG elements. And two, there's so much loot that it doesn't really matter because the only thing that you need is one type of gun. Let me clarify that. You only need one type of gun because only one of them is truly powerful in this game, whereas everything else is just kind of meh. Yeah, there's different elements and there's different ways that add-ons can be put to the guns, and that's the procedurally generated billion guns. But when it comes down to it, the only gun necessary is a corrosive gun because it's the only thing that really tears through the enemies. It's cool, it's fun, it's gimmicky, but at the end of the day, when you actually want to go through and fight harder bosses, you find that one gun that just works really well and you don't put it down. The other thing is, they never made anything hard in this game. There's no mechanics. You never have to RPG your way through stuff. You never feel like the game is hard. It's not challenging. It's just more shooting. The only way to progress the difficulty in this game is you add more health to the enemies, so you shoot longer, which means that you have to figure out a way to stay alive a little bit longer. Basically, you're trying to trade time to kill timelines. It suffers from the same thing that Division 2 did. You just keep shooting the same enemy over and over and over again, ducking behind cover so that you can redo your shield. It's just not fun. It gets boring, especially at the end of the game. Now, does this make the game unplayable? No. In fact, the game's very playable. The voice acting, the immature nature of the game, it's super, super enjoyable. There's banter, it's lippy, it's fun. The game's repetitive, but it's, 30, 35 hours of just fun little quips throughout the entire thing. I was never bored with the dialogue, and I, in fact, enjoyed the storyline a lot. I just didn't enjoy the game. And the storyline is about, well, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but you have a couple sirens who decide that they're going to go ahead and murder the entire universe. And they're YouTube stars. So they basically turn everybody into a cult that follows their YouTube channel. And it's a great social commentary on following social media. What Borderlands 3 probably does the best is social commentary. And it talks about how people just randomly follow YouTube stars. They don't know these people. They don't know these people's motives. They don't know what they want out of life. They just think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. And we see this every day in our lives. And we look at YouTubers and we're like, oh, that person's got it all. They got it figured out. I'm going to sub to them. I'm going to follow them. And then I get online and I get on Twitter and I get on Reddit and I defend them. And I don't know what they actually want to do. They could be the worst person in the world. Or the exact opposite. I don't know who they are. And I'm just going to attack them because I don't like what they're saying on this platform. They could be the best person. They could be raising money for charities. And That's just the way that we are online. And Borderlands 3 does a great job exploring these dynamics. And it does a great job commenting on why this is such a dangerous path. But a lot of people are just glossing over that because the story doesn't pull you into it. It's very much a mechanic to move forward to shoot more things on different planets. And yes, I absolutely love moving to the different planets. I really love Sanctuary 3. The ship's fantastic. The little side quests within this game are absolutely amazing. The main quests are fun. The ability to go find all these quests throughout the game, and it's basically like a quick resume feature. If you happen to put it down for a couple days or a couple weeks, it's like, hey, just go here and do this. And this is something that's very, very helpful for me since I have a very busy life outside of gaming and YouTube. One of the best things about this game is the aesthetics of it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a comic book come to life. You drive around, you run around. The maps aren't too large. They're not too small, but you always feel like you're in a great big expanse or you're in a tiny hallway. Like they just make everything feel right. It just looks correct to be able to play this game. It's not photorealistic. It doesn't need to be photorealistic. It just needs to be fun looking. And they really bring the life into Borderlands. And this aesthetic hasn't ever changed from the original Borderlands. I greatly enjoy every time that I pick up a Borderlands game, just the way it looks. And the other thing that they do very, very well is the sound design. Everything is there. Your voice acting is on point. Some of the best voice acting in the industry. And then you go over and you have the sound effects. You have the vehicles, you have the gunshots, you have the grenades. They're all different. They're all wonderful. They're all unique. And you have background music, you have atmospheric. It's all fantastic. The atmosphere is incredibly well sculpted. I thoroughly enjoy everything within the atmosphere every single time that I play this game. And then we have the monetization. There's no microtransactions within the game itself, but there are DLCs that cost an arm and a leg. I mean, yes, you can get lots of visual customizations within the game. They're free. You can get tons of different guns and loot skins and whatever you want to your heart's content within the game. And then they have some that are $5 that you can buy as a DLC. Not a big deal. It's very scammy. Most people have downvoted the crap out of it because, well, they're scummy loot practices. Well, the DLCs, on the other hand, are $15 a pop, or the season passes are $30 or $45. It's really expensive for these expansion packs. And when you go through and you're underwhelmed by the main campaign, why am I going to spend $15 on an expansion? I mean, I'm looking at $120 total just to play the expansions to a $60 base game. That's insane. That's absolutely nuts. I don't want to spend that much on a game that underwhelmed on the original storyline. It's not so much the story that underwhelmed, it was the mechanics of the game. Within Borderlands, it's just the same mechanics over and over. They're very simple. They're not great. You have grenades, you have bullets, you have a couple other special skill trees per character and special abilities. And yes, you have 4 different Vault Hunters that have different playstyles supposedly, but it's 35 hours of each one of those. And whether it's level 1 or it's up to level 55 or wherever they stop with the expansion leveling, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. You shoot, you use a small ability, and that's it. There's no real big change within the mechanics of the game, and it just makes it stale. So when you go through and you have semi-decent plot twists and you have good writing and you have great social commentary, it's undermined by the fact that the game mechanics themselves are just boring. And this is all shooter looters. This isn't just Borderlands 3. I haven't seen a shooter looter where the mechanics really go through and pull you back in. Well, I take that back. Destiny 2 raids are doing a fantastic job right now of putting out puzzles and putting out different mechanics that you have to figure out. I would love to see something similar to Titanfall 2 where they pace the game for different aspects of it. So you have exploring, you have movement, you have puzzles, you have a lot of shooting. Within Borderlands, you could have had great vehicle combat and then offset it with on-foot combat. Those two are fantastic by themselves, but when there's nothing to change the pacing of the story, I'm not going to continue to get sucked into it. Yes, the lore is fantastic, and this is one of the better lore games out there. So would I recommend this game? Full price? No, not really. If you can pick it up on sale, 50% off, 60% off, absolutely. It's fun. It's at least 30 hours of gameplay. If you put it on the DLCs, it's probably even more. I just couldn't bring myself to buy the DLCs because they were just underwhelming mechanics so far in the game, and I don't think that there were any more great mechanics. I heard great things about the stories. The mechanics are all basically the same. So if I'm just going to go shoot stuff, I'm going to shoot stuff in a different game right now. That being said, when it comes to parental controls, this is a very mature game. You have adolescent humor. You have parent discretion is advised for the blood, the gore, the killing, the mayhem, the death, destruction, sexual jokes, just plain crude humor, right? So no, I wouldn't recommend this for young kids. Maybe 16, 17, 18, parent discretion is advised. I'm going to try and keep this thing as short as possible. So that's it for today. If you want to hear anything else about Borderlands 3 or another game, please drop it down in the comments below. I really appreciate anybody hitting like and subscribe. It helps out the channel and it helps us become better at doing what we try and do every day, which is help people be better. So do good, play hard, game on. This is Wes from Ridir Gaming, and I'll see you next time.